So ultimately I resigned myself to the fact that I wasn't going to have a bike with that kind of fairing until this happened. G'day riders, as many of you who follow us will know, I really enjoy bikes that have an old school look to them. I have my 2018 Street Bob that I've slowly been modding for what seems like a decade, but has really only been around 2 years. And most recently I've put the S&S Teardrop air cleaner on there and actually had a stage 2 done on the bike as well. Add that to things that I've already done, such as giving it a pipe wrap and putting on the ape hangers, different things that I've done to the bike to give it that real old school, perhaps a bit more of a chopper feel, the tank lift as well. Over the last 2 or 3 years I have actually been looking on and off, and not too seriously because it is hard to get things down here in New Zealand. I've been looking for one of those 80s FXRT fairings, kind of thinking maybe it would be kind of cool to get one of those put on the Street Bob. I've looked and never really found anything that would be suitable, but it didn't stop me dreaming anyway. I've always wanted a bike with that vintage 80s look to it, and that fairing, and let's be honest, it's probably a really divisive fairing in terms of you either love it or you hate it, and I certainly love it, the look of that fairing. It just has a cool retro vibe that really suits my style. I'm not a clean cut sort of biker. I like the dirty leather and denim kind of feel, and that's kind of what the 80s style bikes evoke for me. So ultimately I'd resigned myself to the fact that I wasn't going to have a bike with that kind of fairing until this happened. That's right, many of you will have seen it, the release of the Lowrider ST, the touring model of the Softail Lowrider in Harley-Davidson's 2022 lineup. Now, before I said the FXRT fairing was divisive, this bike is going to be divisive. And in fact, it already is divisive, and I've just been watching Brother D-Cycle's take on the Lowrider ST, and his preference would have been to build those features into the Sport Glide. So what Harley have done, they've actually stopped making the Sport Glide in favor of releasing this Lowrider S touring model as that kind of entry-level touring bike. So far I've seen more people saying that they dislike this bike, which, let's be honest, it happens with any new release. I remember the Pan America, looking at it in those initial photos that were released, thinking, oh, that's actually not a good looking bike. But over time, design like that grows on you. You become more familiar with it. You actually realize that there was method in their madness, the way they designed that bike. And now I see the Pan America and I think it's a really attractive adventure bike. But that just goes to show that any new bike that's released, you're going to have the people that love it and the people that hate it, the people that don't think anything about it, the people that don't care about it. If you get a chance, check out D-Cycle's video. He does make some good points about why they perhaps should have stuck with the Sport Glide platform and maybe added the fairing and a few of those other features to the Sport Glide. Now, my thoughts on that: if that Sport Glide platform is selling well, then they're likely still going to keep it in the range. But my thoughts are that it's probably not selling well, which is why they've removed it from the lineup and tried something with the Lowrider platform. Now, the Lowrider ST, I looked at that bike and it made me feel something quite primal. It made me feel something that I can't really explain, a feeling of, dare I say it, of falling in love. It was pretty much the bike that I've designed in my head many times, with that beautiful retro styled fairing, pannier bags. They've used the clamshell ones that are currently on the Sport Glide, but a bike that has some attitude. It has that dirty leather and denim feeling to it, that Lowrider S built into a touring bike. It just appealed to me so much, and of course I instantly see it. Rel, Mrs. Kiwi Rider, she she sees me see it, she knows what I'm feeling. It's funny, she's the one that often talks me into doing the things in life that I probably should do, or that will enrich my life and our lives. I grew up really poor. I've told this story before. I grew up really poor, so I'm a lot more careful with the things we do and money and all of that sort of stuff. Whereas Rel's kind of like of the opinion you only live once, and I think that's a great way to be, because we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So often, yeah, Rel is the one to convince me to do certain things or to come up with ideas or ways of achieving a goal. And she looks at this bike and she comes up with a plan. Now Rel is at a point where she's ready, and probably has been ready for a long time, to move away from the Sportster bike, and she's ready for a larger bike. She's been riding my Street Bob in recent times and looking badass doing it, and really enjoying how it performs and just that larger bike feel. So she came up with this idea. She says, why don't we sell the Sportster, you give me the Street Bob, and then we look to buy one of those lowrider STs. Me being me, I think about it, and then I start to worry about all the things that could go wrong with that. And Rel and I continue to talk about it, and as normally happens, I start to think, actually that's a pretty good idea, you know. This really is a bike that appeals to my tastes and my sensibilities, and it's a bike that I really have been designing in my head for a long time. What a good idea. Now, all of this is subject to obviously selling the Sportster, selling Black Widow. Now, with the motorcycle community that we have around us, it's probably not going to be too hard to sell the Sportster. It's a desirable bike. The mods that Rel has done to it are generally things that people want to do themselves, like the Ford controls, new pipes, that sort of thing. Plus it's got that awesome sissy bar that we built for it. That's a real selling point as well. It's a little Sportster with big heart and great for touring around New Zealand, so it shouldn't be too hard to sell. So what we did a few days ago was headed into our local Harley-Davidson store, McIver and Beach, and talked to the team there and put our name down for one. So when the lowrider ST finally makes its way down to New Zealand around mid-year, apparently, we basically have first refusal on one of those bikes. I'm going to guess over the next few months, the people that don't really like the bike, it'll either grow on them or they'll learn to hate it even more. But I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited about seeing it in the flesh. I have ridden the Lowrider S and I really enjoyed the bike, but I just couldn't justify buying it because it wasn't hugely different than the Street Bob for me. But these new features, 117 cubic inch engine, 105 horsepower out of the box. It's got that beautiful retro throwback fairing, and it's got the pannier bags. Just a great bike for someone like me who really enjoys a mixture of just out and out fast riding and touring around the country as well. So excited. If you've got an opinion on that bike, either for or against, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. If you're interested in seeing how my journey with that bike progresses, please hit the subscribe button. It's free to subscribe. And then let's see if all of those things that need to happen come together so we can bring the Lowrider ST home.